In the years since the end of the 1994 genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi here in Rwanda, the international community has worked to acknowledge its role in the atrocities that were committed and avoid repeating the mistakes that were made when nothing was done to prevent them, despite the numerous warning signs that were evident in the build-up to the fastest genocide in recorded human history.
Muri 1999 mbyibutse umuryango w'abibumbye washyizeho komisiyo.
Let me remind you that in 1999 the UN formed a commission that examined the mistakes that were made, and it was concluded that the UN ignored the evidence it had been given that the government of Rwanda and its army were preparing a genocide. The Belgian Senate also prepared a similar report in 1997, and their Prime Minister came here in the year 2000 and asked for forgiveness. The AU also carried out its research that year, and even the ambassadors that participated in the discussions here admitted that there were blatant incidents of evidence being ignored and not being followed up on. Every year we will hold meetings like this to look at the lessons that were learned and also plan for the future, using the lessons of 1994 to prevent similar things from happening elsewhere in the world, like what we endured here in Rwanda. There is also the matter of other countries putting in place laws to deal with genocidal ideologies and the denial and negation of the genocide against the Tutsi. Certain international treaties have been signed, for example the UN Security Council resolution of 2014 that calls for all countries part of the UN to make sure that genocide perpetrators are brought to justice, for countries without laws punishing the crime of genocide to make sure that they are put in place, and that cooperation is pursued in the prosecution of those who deny and negate the genocide against the Tutsi, that such laws also be instilled. They don't have to be specific to the genocide against the Tutsi, as long as they cover all internationally recognized genocides. They have such a law in France, in Belgium too, though we feel that the one in Belgium should be amended. In Luxembourg, Switzerland and Italy, they have them as well. So progress has been made, and if things continue like that, we believe that the problems highlighted will be addressed. France's ambassador in Rwanda has called for all who fail to prevent the genocide against the Tutsi from happening to learn from their mistakes and bring genocide perpetrators to justice.
It's clear that France and the international community, but France first, allowed a genocide that was preventable to happen, but that genocide had not been planified by French people, but by Rwandans, part of whom were prosecuted in Arusha, others in France now, and others still live in France, and they don't have any problem, and they're not being prosecuted in some countries as well. But let me say this, France was long involved in denying the genocide and the France's responsibility. And its position was could not go on. It became obvious that France could not go on in that denial. We all know what happened here.
Speaking on behalf of his counterparts, Angola's ambassador in Rwanda noted that the world has the responsibility of fighting genocide ideologies so that such atrocities are never allowed to happen again anywhere. He also commended Rwandans for the developmental progress they have made, built upon unity and reconciliation, and called for the international community to continue supporting the country in its efforts.